about 5-10 minutes after. So AKA we're on time in realtor world. So it's all good. It is all good. I'm not gonna be able to take a drink with this mic on my ear because I feel like it's gonna sound really weird. So everybody on Zoom can hear me, correct? Cool. All right. So for those of you that don't know me, I'm Ross Cummins with Ross the Realtor here at Keller Williams Legacy Group. Our team typically specializes in the new construction process. And then I've got two girls here in the office that basically make it as seamless as possible. So we're basically going to go through a lot of high level stuff. But as we're getting ready to go through, if you all would, in the Zoom chat, if you will, comment your name, email, phone number, and we're going to send you all a link to the handout that we're going over, just in case you guys want a copy of it. And then Savannah will send that your way. Cool. All right, so we're going to cover a lot, and we're going to basically try to make it go pretty quick and pretty seamless. We're going to go over the good, the bad, and the gray area in between, because there's really not a whole lot of ugly in the new construction process. My goal with this class is to ensure that you guys are confident whenever you sell one of our builds, or to keep you out of real estate jail whenever you sell somebody else's. That's essentially why we're all here, is to make each other better. Iron on iron sharpens. If you guys have any questions, we're going to cover a lot, so I'll probably touch on that subject or that question throughout, but write it down or put in the chat box, whatever, and then I'll circle back to it at the end whenever we have time for a little bit more questions. But if you want specific one-on-one stuff, Sarah and Savannah would probably be your best to go to be able to handle like any little detailed questions about the new construction process if I'm not able to. Next slide. Oh wait, no, I'm not waiting on somebody to do next slide. I'm the guy that's supposed to be doing the next slide. Where do I point at? I don't know which one's down and which one's up, unfortunately. Is not doing anything. Oh. No, we skipped way ahead. Okay. All right. All right. No, we're not ahead. Sorry. That was this slide that I just went over. All right. I'm back on track now. So we're going to go over a lot. If you have any questions, just save it till the end if you can. I'm going to get the up and down buttons right by the end of this, I promise. New construction, one of the first things we'll talk about is kind of like the pros and cons. There's honestly a lot of pros with the new construction. You have the option to include the latest high-tech features such as security systems, audio systems, automatic lighting, smart faucets, appliances, thermostats, all that cool stuff. Being able to really put like a personal touch on it is actually one of typically our clients' favorite parts about the new build stuff. Everything functions correctly. You're not going to get hit with any like blindsided, oh, you got to replace your HVAC or something like that. So you can actually put your money towards other things that you're going to want, like your furniture and your decor and stuff like that in the house. Your big ticket items like the roof, appliances, HVAC, all that stuff is under warranty. It kind of gives you a little bit of peace of mind. And I tell people that the first year that you're actually in your brand new home is almost like renting. Something goes wrong with the house, the builder has to come and fix it as a builder warranty. So essentially it kind of gives you peace of mind, and anything that's going to come up, you typically find in that first year under your warranty. You get to customize all the features. There's a glare on the screen, so I really can't read it all that well. You get to customize all the features depending on what stage the house is at. A lot of our stuff right now, we're not really allowing quite as many selections, and it's not because we don't want to. We would absolutely love to, but we're not really able to price homes out until they're basically finished and everything's already been ordered, just due to material shortages and prices and stuff like that. So the customization has kind of been toned down a little bit, but it's also going to be super energy efficient. Per code here in Madison County, we have to go through what's called a HERS rating. So they actually test the energy efficiency on the home to make sure that it meets code, but also they give you a score. TMI, but the lower the score, the better. And it's kind of like golf. The lower the score is, the more efficient your home is. And they can actually tell you typically within like a $20 range of what your average utility bills are going to be. So I always think that's kind of cool to give that to first-time home buyers, or if you can find it in one of the drawers at the build, it kind of gives them a little bit of peace of mind, knowing they're not going to have to fix anything and their bills are going to be manageable. So those are your pros. There's definitely going to be some cons. If I can get it to click. Is it, could you like manually click it? All right, while she's doing that, I'll go through some of the cons. Unfortunately, with new construction, the cost is typically the cost. Anybody that has sold one of our new builds can tell you, like, there's not any wiggle room on prices, and that's simply due to the cost of materials and everything right now. Plus, it's almost impossible to find lots at the moment to build more homes. So the builder has to, move on to another project afterwards. And if he doesn't have another one, he's typically not as inclined to let that one go for a discount. We used to be able to see fire sales and stuff like that, where people would drop the price on it just to move it and move on to the next one. But I haven't seen one of those in at least like 3 years, honestly. Upgrades. One of the cons with new construction is upgrades can be expensive. A lot of people don't understand why upgrades are expensive. One, they typically like to go with what they're already doing, and it makes it a lot easier. Two, whenever you're doing upgrades, a lot of people don't understand the telephone game that has to go on to make that happen. You call me, I call Sarah, Sarah calls Kyle, Kyle calls his contractor, they call their manufacturer, and then they call the distributor, and then that whole line comes back. And then, oh, actually, we wanted it this way. And then that whole line goes back, and it just takes up a lot of time, and time costs money at the end of the day. So a lot of times upgrades can be a little bit more expensive than you would think. And a lot of times you actually have to pay for them out of pocket just because the builder wasn't planning on doing that. So it's a little bit less or more skin in the game in case they get stuck with the house. There's typically not any trees in new developments. You'll get your stereotypical like 2 trees in the front yard, like your basic landscaping. But honestly, most of the time in new developments, they're mowing it down and they're trying to level everything because everybody wants a lot that's flat as a pancake. So you're typically not going to get a flat lot with wooded trees all the way around and all that. It really doesn't happen that often unless you find the perfect piece of land and make it all happen customization wise. Other con would be HOAs. For all my control freaks out there, someone may tell you what to do. It is what it is. It's not the end of the world, but realistically, an HOA is simply there to protect the homeowners. That's the only reason that an HOA is there. They may have some rules, regulations, restrictions, but at the end of the day, they're there to make sure that your neighbor isn't going to build a purple and blue house and your value is going to drop because of that. They make sure it's a level playing field for everybody. And if there's something that, gets a majority vote, then they're willing to make it happen. But typically a lot of people just don't want to pay a fee that they don't see go towards anything. And they are typically control freaks like myself, and they don't want to be told what to do by somebody else that, doesn't pay their mortgage. It is what it is. This is the process whenever you sell one of our new builds. See what I did there? But this is essentially a high-level version of our process and what we go through with every single build on a day-to-day basis. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to break down each individual one so it's a little bit easier to manage and just kind of make it a little bit of an easier pill to swallow. Next, the consultation is the first. Does anybody know what that is? It's not a unicorn. It's an unrealistic client. They're unicorn hunting. We typically do refer to it as a unicorn hunter, just kind of as a little joke, because a lot of times people don't really understand what goes into building a house. So sometimes they'll come off with, I want a 5,000 square foot ranch on 10 acres for $250,000. Yeah, me too. I'll take 10 of them, please. You know what I mean? But realistically, the consultation is the most critical point on the new build process, because you have to make sure that you and your clients are mutually aligned and you actually know how to take care of them. Otherwise, they're going to run you ragged, just to be completely honest with you, because there's two things whenever you're doing a consultation, and most people probably won't break it down like this, but this is the easiest way that it's been for me to be able to manage someone's expectations. There are two things that you can choose from: the floor plan in the house or the lot. It's as simple as that. You can pick one or the other, but in this market, if you try to pick both at the same time, you're either incredibly lucky or it's just not going to happen. So why I do that is essentially because you might be able to get the exact house that you want, and then you're left over with $10,000 to find a lot. That's not going to buy you anything, you know what I mean? Or you might find that exact lot that you want in the location that you want, and it's everything you want. It's perfect. It goes on the market. You call your builder and you say, hey, I need to find a floor plan that fits this lot. If the deed restrictions require this, it has to be all brick, blah, blah, blah. He goes through, he starts pricing everything out and trying to figure out what your all-in cost is going to be, because you probably don't want to pull the trigger on that until you know what your all-in cost is going to be. So then the builder gets back with you and he says, hey, this is going to be your cost to build. You call that realtor to say, hey, we'll take the lot. And they say, hey, it's already sold. Sorry about your luck. Lots are hard to find right now. So realistically, trying to figure out both at the same time is typically kind of not really unreasonable, because everybody's going to want to have that. However, at the end of the day, you got to pick one, whichever one's more important to you, because everybody's going to say, well, Ross, both of them are important to me. I really want the perfect location and the perfect house. And that's fine. Typically, we can do that. But there is going to be one that they're going to favor, whether it's the location and the lot. Like, for example, when I say the lot, sometimes people want 3,000 square foot house. Okay, cool. If your budget is here and your price, what you want is here, let's find it on a 2-story floor plan or on a ranch on basement, because it's cheaper for us to build up or down than it is to build out, for example. So if that house and that square footage is more important to them, we can find a floor plan that makes that happen. And then at that point, all it is we save a certain amount, like whether it's, $50,000 for the lot, and then you basically know how much you have to wiggle room, or how much wiggle room you have to go shop for lots. Makes it a little bit easier that way. That's pretty much it on the consultation. You mainly, when you're interviewing builders, you want someone that's going to be direct with you, but you also don't take the sales pitch. If they tell you that they're going to get a house done in 3 months from start to finish, that's not going to happen. You know what I mean? Don't go into it with rose-colored glasses. Ask a lot of really intelligent questions. Don't waste their time with menial little questions that don't really matter right now, if you can. That's typically a little hard, because when you're building a new house, you want to know everything. But if you figure out everything, you've already missed your opportunity. Due diligence. So due diligence is one that we are a little bit of sticklers on. When you're building a home with us, we require a little bit more than probably your everyday builder, but it's simply to protect you guys. At the end of the day, we want to stay out of real estate jail. We want y'all to stay out of real estate jail. That's just no fun for anyone. So we typically have you all sign off on the deed restrictions and the HOA guidelines. Keep in mind, those are two separate things, not the exact same. We'll have you sign off on those. We'll have you sign a plat of the lot and the house placement on the lot typically. We'll also have you sign a floor plan, and then the builder's finishes or standards. With materials, it's kind of been a little bit more difficult to get the exact, fixtures and all that hammered down, but typically it's like, hey, we want black, or we want oil rub bronze, or we want, chrome, brush nickel, whatever. So all of that's great. Obviously, everyone's going to probably take the time to go over that with their clients. We want it signed off on, just that way everybody's on the same page and we have a paper trail. But one of the things that I would say is way too often overlooked is your builder warranty. Your builder warranty needs to be read before closing. Like you need to, because realistically, they could basically say, I'll fix whatever you need and then sign it on a piece of notebook paper. And if your clients are cool with that, I'm not. I want to know exactly what's going to be done, but also at the same time, there's a lot of stuff in there that you don't realize. Like if, for example, on your builder's warranty, if something goes wrong with your home in that first year, do not fix it. Don't touch it. Call the builder, call me, and I'll, connect you with the builder, whatever. But if you go in and fix it, a lot of times that actually voids your builder warranty, and they can basically wipe their hands of it and say, sorry, you did a I don't know, Band-Aid fix or whatever, and that made it worse. So now their hands are tied, and they're going to basically, they can't turn that into their insurance company at that point. They have to be in control of that entire process, which is really not a big deal if you think about it. But if you didn't do that and it voided your 1-year warranty, that's a huge deal to somebody. I mean, that could cost them a lot of money if their basement floods. You know what I mean? So just little things like that. Whenever here locally, I know we've got a couple of people on from Ohio and Indiana and some stuff like that, but like here locally, what you get typically is you get a 12-month workmanship warranty. Some builders will have a structural, like a 10-year, 20-year warranty or something like that, but majority of the time you get what's called a workmanship warranty. What that means is anything that we put together, we will come back and fix if something's wrong with it within 12 months. That leaves you open on a few things like your mechanics of the house, your HVAC, your water heater, your, like there's just a few of those mechanical things like your appliances. All of those are going to have a specific manufacturer warranty as well. And most people, they get that little book at closing and they're like, all right, sweet, cool. I've got a warranty. I'm happy, all is good. You do have to register those for the warranty most of the time. Like, I mean, this is America. They've kind of figured out their way to get out of anything that they want to. But if you don't register your HVAC, 10 years from now, or 5 years from now, it may go out. Your builder warranty is already gone. What are you going to do? You might be on the hook for that entire, whatever it ends up costing to get it fixed, just off of not taking the 5 minutes to sit down and fill out the warranty info on your microwave, your refrigerator, your dishwasher, your stove, all of that. Also your HVAC and water heater. Different manufacturers have different warranties. Some of them you do have to register for, some of them you don't, but I say it's always best practice to check. That's something that you are the licensed agent, you are the professional, you owe that to your clients to be able to navigate them through these waters, because you know what they're thinking about? Moving in, going to Hobby Lobby and Home Goods, like getting that house, turning that house into a home. That's all they're worried about. You can't be shiny syndrome with them trying to figure that out. You're the professional. You have a higher standard you're held to. So we have to make sure that 2 years from now, they're not going to call me and be like, yo, why didn't you tell me to do that? Why didn't the builder tell me to do that? That's our responsibility. So next slide, please. Why to use the new construction offer to purchase contract. This is basically, it's pretty self-explanatory. The new construction offer to purchase contract has specific language regarding the logistics of building a home that the regular offer to purchase does not. It ensures that there are no misunderstandings. Like, kill them with over info. Like, you want everything transparent, everybody on the same page, just everybody's intentions are mapped out. If you're going to be if you're going to be adding anything, if you're going to be making any selections, if you're going to have a builder cash advance, if you're going to have a good timeline for completion, what warranties come with it, if it's structural, if it's just workmanship, whatever, and then how we're going to handle delays or changes, and then the certificate of occupancy notice. Essentially, on the new construction offer to purchase contract, we say this is our intended closing date. But if it's done before that, we'll give you a heads up, and then we're going to expect to be able to close within 5 days or a week or whatever of that. With new construction being the way that it's been, typically it's a week past that date right now. But a lot of times people will throw an inflated number out there, and then sometimes the builder is left holding the keys for a month or two until that person's loan is actually ready. Because a lot of times people are scared to lock their rates in right now with how they've been jumping up. So that one's pretty self-explanatory for the most part. Yeah, honestly, that just protects you. It protects your clients. And a lot of times builders will require a cash advance as well. And so this just already has the verbiage in it that we don't have to worry about it. Ours does. I need to think about that. We got people from Ohio and Indiana on this. So if your all's doesn't, I'm sorry. It is an LBAR contract. I would assume KREC has one as well, but the one that we use is LBARs. It's in dot loop under the templates, basically. It's super easy. Financing and government lenders. Honestly, I don't even need to cover this slide because Geneva typically handles most of this stuff for us. One of the things that you can always do is most builders do have a lender that they like working with. They work really well with, and it actually makes their life a little bit easier. So a lot of times it may sound short-sighted to, like, oh, I'm going to use this guy's lender. And then all of a sudden, wait, are you going to get screwed over by that lender or whatever? It's normally not like that. It's just a control freak thing for them because they want to know that you're rock solid. So a lot of times whenever we get into multiple offer situations on our new builds, typically Alex is one of the go-tos that I just say, hey, the builder loves Alex. If you can work with him and get this loan done, it's going to give him a lot of reassurance that this deal is going to close and that you guys are rock solid on your financing. Obviously, Alex can't tell him more than he can actually tell him. But at the end of the day, him having peace of mind will actually work well for your clients in the grand scheme of things because it's a long process. If you're going to be in this build for 6 to 12 months or whatever the process is, you want that guy on your side every step of the way, and you don't want to upset him if you can't. But also, good lenders on new construction is almost the most important aspect of it because not everybody does new construction. Kyle and Alex do a lot of it. We probably have had half of our closings with them lately, but it takes someone who's actually going to have some attention to detail because with rates doing what they're doing right now, if Kyle and Alex don't relock those rates, guess who's screwed? Your clients and your deal. Like at the end of the day, with rates jumping up a quarter, half, or whatever, a whole percent in the past, I mean, shoot, since we've gotten a couple of them under contract, literally those people's payments are changing by hundreds of dollars in the grand scheme. No, we got Panera, yes. Our broker just walked in case anybody was curious. She's hungry. But your client's monthly payment can go up $100 to $200 if that rate isn't relocked and reextended. So at the end of the day, if your lender isn't going to be on top of that, someone has to, and it's probably not going to be the agent, to be honest with you. Next slide. I think that's pretty solid. Do you, Savannah? That pretty much covers most of your all's pain points. Home selections. Make sure any selections you want to make goes on the contract. Text messages are great. Technically, it's in writing. Get it in writing. Like, get everybody on the same page. Like what we do with all of our selections, I'll tell you where to go for the selections, what your budget is for the selections, who to send your selections to, how to send your selections to them. So my goal is to make the process as easy on you guys as possible to be able to sell more of our builds, obviously. But if you're going to be selling someone else's build and they aren't transparent on that stuff and they just say granite countertops, you have no idea whether it's group A, B, C, D, E, I don't know, it probably goes all the way down to Z. But like if you don't know exactly what's going into it, you're leaving your client open to be able to be screwed later on. Nobody wants to be screwed. It is what it is. If it's not in the contract, it doesn't exist, obviously. Typically, what we've been doing lately, depending on the size of the house, but for most of our spec homes, what we try to do is we try to list them at the drywall stage once we know what our end-all be-all costs are going to be. And then at that point, you're still able to make some selections typically, like you can pick your granite, you can pick your flooring color, you can pick your wall color, and think that's pretty much it for the most part. Sometimes we can get the tile backsplash or something, but most of the time what we do is we require a $5,000 or a $10,000 deposit, cash advance, straight up front. Like instead of giving us an escrow deposit that can be, negotiated or given back, we're going to get that $5,000 up front just to make sure that you have some skin in the game. Because if you put green granite countertops into my new build, I'm going to be upset whenever I have to go resell that to somebody else because your financing fell through because you used the wrong lender. So that hasn't happened or anything. So it's just to protect the builder at the end of the day, and it's to give him a little bit of peace of mind. Most of the time people don't pick ugly stuff, but I've seen some crazy. I saw brown granite countertops yesterday. No joke. Sorry if anybody out there has brown granite countertops. Let's see. At the end of the day, I mean, that's pretty much it for the selections. Like, just make sure it's all in writing, make sure it's as transparent as possible, and then everybody will be happy. Also, timeline as far as when those selections are due, because you don't want to get that phone call that says your clients need to leave work and go pick out granite right now because they're on their way out to template. You don't want that. So just make sure everybody's on the same page. The timeline for the certificate of occupancy and appraisal. If you get one thing from me out of this class, take this. The COO is not a green light to move into your new home. It's not. It is basically saying that your home passes and meets all codes and standards currently. The plumbing works, HVAC works, the water gets hot, the plugs work, most of that stuff is all taken care of and it's structurally sound. Technically, someone can move into that home. We are not going to move our clients into that home at the COO point. Typically, just because everything's complete per code doesn't mean that it's done. We still have touch-ups to do. We still have caulking and painting and like all your little punch list item stuff to do. Like, we still have a lot of stuff going on. So when a lot of people hear, oh, we're getting certificate of occupancy today, they think that they can move in tomorrow. Typically, on most of these government loans, the appraiser actually doesn't even go back out to the property until they get the COO. Because the appraiser has to have certificate of occupancy in his file. Basically, that way, he can finish his appraisal. So a lot of times the appraiser on new construction, they go out there at the beginning of the project to just make sure they measure everything, they get pictures of the rooms, whatever, and then they go back out at the very end and they charge you a trip fee once you have COO. That way they can get the final complete project pictures and all that stuff stitched up. And honestly, typically the values change drastically in the market that we're in if you're going, 2, 3, 6 months from start to finish. Try to get as accurate of a completion time as possible. Your lenders right now need it more than anything, and we need it because your lenders need it. If you can get I understand, first of all, agents are busy. Everybody's busy. We're all busy. It is what it is. But as an agent, you're held to a higher standard. At the end of the day, you are. So if you're not able to provide your client with a weekly update on where that house is at in the process, why are you even selling a new build? At the end of the day, your clients drive by that house every other day. Like every other day, they're out there, they're walking through it, they're checking on stuff, they're doing all this and that. They're super excited. And when you send them an update that isn't correct because you got it from the listing agent who got it from the contractor who has 37 homes that they're building and they don't know one lot from the other, and you give them the wrong info and they're going to be like, sorry, we just went out there and that's actually already done or not done, worst of all. And then you've kind of lost a little bit of their trust and their respect in the process. And then they're really going to question you if those people are actually putting their house on the market. Because a lot of times people are buying that new home and then they're getting their house ready. And then at about the 45 to 60 day point, they're putting their home on the market to basically make that transition once. And if your timeline's off one time, 2 times, they're not going to trust your timeline. And then that's going to create a bad relationship moving forward, honestly. Start by it. Honestly, I think we're all real estate agents on here. Realistically, make a social media post out of it. Hey, checking in on a new build for my clients, just making sure that they get the best of the best, whatever, and making sure that their builder's meeting timeline. Selfie video walking through the house. Your clients are going to be like, holy crap, she's checking in on us. Thank you. You know what I mean? But if you can talk to the builder directly, or if you can talk to the contractors that are out there and just kind of see timeline wise, not everybody has Sarah and Savannah like we do. Like Sarah and Savannah are on top of it. They talk to the builders directly and they get you exactly what's going on. And then half the time I check in the field just to make sure that the builder's telling them what's right. So like not everybody has that point of contact. So if you're going to sell new construction in today's market, you are that contact. Otherwise, your clients have to drive over there every single day to figure out what's going on. And nobody likes that. They're going to want to, but they don't want to have to worry about all of that stuff. They're trying to turn that house into a home. That's stupid. I said that twice. I'm not trying to sound like a Hobby Lobby greeting card, but it is what it is. Inspections. Did we skip one? You did skip one. We're getting ahead of ourselves here. Sorry. No. Inspections. First of all, you don't have to get a termite inspection on new construction. New construction in Madison County, per code, we actually have to have a pre-treatment done on a property, and you have to get the form of that pre-treatment to get your certificate of occupancy. So if your client's wanting to spend $50 to see if they put old lumber on the house, don't waste your time. You will find stuff that the builder has not had a chance to get fixed yet. Keep that in mind. You will find stuff because that builder is typically coming in right after your clients, and your clients are probably there at least once a week. I don't know if we have a single new build that people don't stop by at least once a week to check on progress, to see what's going on, to take pictures, to walk through. Shoot, sometimes they write Bible verses over top of doors and all kinds of stuff. Like your clients throughout this process, they're going to find mistakes that have happened before the builder does. Feel free to tell the builder, hey, we were out there, we saw this, because sometimes you can save a little bit of time in that process by just expediting things. That way he knows. But don't question your builder's integrity if you get to the house before he does, and he was already going to chew somebody out for doing what they did, and then they're going to come back and fix it. So feel free to be transparent and throw it out there, but be polite about it if possible. That being said, blue tape and a Sharpie, your best friend. Whenever you're doing a walkthrough, whenever you're doing your home inspection, whenever you're doing anything that you're over there for, if you can put a piece of tape on it and write, hey, there's a dent in this fridge, or hey, like paint touch-ups, throughout, just as you see stuff, it'll save you a lot of frustration from doing it at the very end, right before closing, because contractors are busy. Everybody's busy. If you're good at what you do, you're busy right now. It is what it is. But if you wait until closing day to say, hey, there's a dent in that fridge at the very bottom, and it's something that you can't sleep at night because of, you wait until the last day, you're not closing with a brand new fridge. You're closing with that fridge and an IOU. Like your clients would probably prefer to not have to do the refrigerator shuffle whenever that new refrigerator comes in, and then have to take off work to meet the Lowe's guy that's there to deliver it and all that stuff. If you hit it proactively, it's so much easier throughout the process, honestly. And the Sharpie is to write on the tape. Don't write on the walls. I've had that happen before, and that's not cool. With a pencil either, because that leaves an indentation in drywall, and Sharpie, you almost have to paint it with kills to get it to cover. It is what it is. We've done this quite a few times now. Always have an inspection. Oh, to go back off of that, when you do put tape on something, take a picture of it. Just take a picture of it. That way you have peace of mind that when you're writing up that home inspection request form, you can go through those pictures and be like, oh yeah, crap, there was this. Oh yeah, there was this. Oh yeah, there was this. Put it all on that piece of paper, because realistically what our builder does most of the time, he's going to give it to his right-hand man. He's going to screenshot it and say, go fix all this. I mean, that's what he's going to do 9 times out of 10. So the more you can put on there and the more info you can have, the easier it's going to make the whole process. Back to what I was saying earlier, always have a home inspected. Always have a home inspected. You can waive it if you want to or whatever, because today's market, if you need to waive it in order to get, that new build contract, whatever, I understand that. But feel free to have that home inspected as soon as we're getting ready to close or something like that. Get a list together of anything that could go wrong over the next year that you're going to call that builder about anyways. Get a list beforehand, have him come out and fix it all before you move in. Because if you wait until you move in, realistically, your people are going to have to take off work, or they're going to have to wait on contractors to be there, or he's going to say, I'll be there between 12 and 4, and your clients have to take 4 hours out of their day to sit at their house and wait on somebody to get there. People are busy. It is what it is. But the easier you can make the process for your clients, the easier it makes it on them. The happier they are, the more repeat and referral clients you guys get, and the more of our builds you can sell. So it works out well for everybody, including us. I will say also, codes in different counties can be very different. That's why I keep saying this for the Ohio and Indiana people that are watching. Codes are very different. Like we have some home inspectors. We kind of have I have a very short blacklist of like 2 or 3 home inspectors that we don't allow into our builds because they come from other areas where the codes are maybe a lot more strict, or they have no rhyme or reason to what they're doing. They're just doing it. And it really kind of can give your client it gives them a bad idea of what that builder's doing in their mind. If you say, this is code and they're not doing it, that buyer is going to start to question, oh, well, what else did he cut corners on? What else did he do? So keep in mind that codes are different. And if you have a home inspector that comes in there and says, hey, this is to code, and your builder's saying, no, it's not, and that he already has COO at this point, you know that if it was code, he had to have COO. So a lot of times people will come in and they'll ask for hurricane straps to be added on and all this crazy stuff that realistically isn't that difficult to do. But Kyle doesn't like doing the hurricane straps because they look ugly, but they're also just not necessary. So when you're having it inspected, first of all, always get it inspected, but also take it with a grain of salt. Get anything taken care of that needs to be taken care of and that you're going to ask for the builder to come back and fix anyways. Just go ahead and get all that taken care of. It's a little bit easier to fix at the very beginning versus after it's had 8, 9, 10 months worth of use on it. That's pretty much it for that one. Final walkthroughs. Can anybody tell me why it says to do it 2 to 5 days prior to closing? Others? Do you know why?
You have to get a response if it's not up to their standard, because then you're going to be moving with wet paint, or like you said, a dented fridge, then you're just going to have to move all your stuff out of the fridge and back into the fridge.
Exactly. Honestly, it makes it like being proactive is the only way to do new construction. If you can't be proactive and you're going to be reactive because you have 27 other clients, just refer it to us and we'll take care of it. No big deal. No, but seriously, 2 to 5 days prior to closing is really important, because at the end of the day, if you're showing up 30 minutes before closing to do a final walkthrough, like you do a lot of times on your typical resales, I mean, we have people do it all the time. And then they come in and they spend the next 30 minutes putting blue tape everywhere, and they didn't even finish because they're like, oh my gosh, it's everywhere. Like, we have to fix all of these things.
Do that 2 to 5 days prior to. Give us a little bit of time to be able to get the drywall guy in there, the paint guy in there. Drywall has to dry and be resanded and then painted twice. That takes time to do that, and it takes a little bit of time for the drywall to actually dry. So I mean, realistically, paint and drywall touch-ups is like a 2-day thing. So if you're not wanting to move your new furniture in and then it get covered with drywall dust, get it done 2 to 5 days prior. It's easy. And I harp on that one a lot because it does make it also a lot more difficult on the builders whenever they're having to work around your schedule and your movers and this and that. They're doing paint touch-ups while the movers are moving the furniture in, and oh crap, that ended up touching the wet wall. Then you got to paint touch up that. So enough about the 2 to 5 days. That's a pain point for me. I see it all the time. These bullet points are like honestly the best walkthrough checklist that you can have. Create a final walkthrough checklist, please. Your clients want you to show up, open the door, and take a picture of them. That's all your clients want you to do. What they don't know what they don't know. Your clients want you to be there to open the door and take a picture, and that's typically what I do on all of our final walkthroughs. But when I open the door and they're showing their family around and doing all of their stuff, I have a checklist that I go through on every single home, whether they had a home inspection or not, because I'm either verifying that the inspection stuff was done, or I'm making sure that there's not gonna be something that pops up later on, like maybe they forgot the splash blocks and now you're gonna have a gutter downspout just basically pouring on your foundation, or worse, into your basement. So create a final walkthrough checklist. That way you don't miss anything. I turn on every single burner on the stove. I test the microwave. I pull the plastic out of the dishwasher. I pull the plastic out of the refrigerator. Every single time I put water in my hands and ice in my hands from the dispenser. You make sure that water line is on for your clients. Otherwise, you're going to get a phone call in 2 hours. You check and make sure that that dishwasher is running and the water is turned on. There's a little lever in the back. 9 times out of 10, it's not on. Behind the fridge, there's a water line. 9 times out of 10, it's not on. I check it every single time because it's saving your client's time. They don't even realize it, but you're proactively taking care of that for them. And that opens you up to get repeat and referral business. They're gonna be like, you had a terrible experience building? Call this guy, we loved it, it was great. Like, I mean, that makes it so much more seamless on everybody involved. I test the water heater to make sure hot water actually comes out of it. And also, most new water heaters, you have a thermostat on it to where you can adjust how hot that water actually comes out. And a lot of times, it's set too low. You're gonna get a phone call when they take that first shower and they say, it's 40 degrees and I'm shivering and I just took an ice bath. No, like, it's fine. You can tell them where it's at, but it's just so much easier if you do it for them at the very beginning. This is best practice. I don't work with buyers anymore, unfortunately, but when I work with buyers, when you're doing a new construction final walkthrough, I'm there 30 minutes before you. The reason for that is I'm checking everything. I honestly even get in the crawl space half the times, but that's just me. I want to make sure that everything's been done. I want to make sure that everything is in good working order. I want to make sure there's no water coming down into the crawl space or anything's happened since we got that certificate of occupancy and that home inspection. Now we got a plumbing pipe leaking or something. I do a thorough comb over of everything to make sure it's good. And then whenever they walk in the home, at that time, you're not there to be their home inspector or to do anything. You're there to congratulate them. They're excited. It's their new home. But you also have a responsibility to teach them what to do with that home. So what I typically do is I show them where you're going to be changing your air filter. If it's in the crawl space, if it's in the attic, if there's a little drop down tab in the living room, whatever, I'm going to show you where your filter's at. And I'm actually going to have you take a picture of the filter size while you're there. Because you're never going to remember that filter size. And when you're going through Lowe's, you're going to be like, oh crap, Ross made me take a picture of it. Let me go find that. And it just makes it a lot easier on everybody at the end of the day. I'm going to show them if the hot water isn't hot enough, how to turn that dial up a little bit more. I'm going to show them that when they use their stove for the first time, let it go for 10 minutes because it's going to stink up the house. It's going to smell like burning plastic, and it is what it is. But if they don't know that, they're going to call you thinking their stove's on fire. That's just part of it. And I mean, there's a lot of other things that I do. I always get the paint colors from the builder for the trim, ceilings, and walls. And don't forget to get the finish because that's really important. And if you tell them, if the builder is nice enough to leave you all some of their extra paint, make sure they don't leave it in the garage. If you leave that paint in the garage and you go back to try and do touch-ups later, the color is going to be off because it gets hot, it gets cold in that garage. It's never going to match up perfectly. It is what it is. So your job as an agent in the final walkthrough is to foresee all the things that can potentially happen for your clients and to nip those in the butt before they ever do happen. Because at the end of the day, them being happy creates raving fans for you all. And then you can sell more of our bills. Closing day. Closing day is, it's the bee's knees. Everybody loves closing day. There are a couple things that you need to make sure you get done on closing day. You need to make sure that builder's warranty is signed. It is not enforceable until it is signed. And I think ours has to be notarized as well. But the closing attorney always does that there. So get that builder warranty signed and get that final walkthrough signed as well, because no final walkthrough, no cash, right? They keep putting notes on that in our folders, just that way we don't forget to get all that stuff filled out. And if there's anything that's surviving closing, get that signed on as well. If there's a ding in the fridge that was on the home inspection report and you're not comfortable signing a final walkthrough because that hasn't been taken care of, we completely understand. Put it on a separate form and says, this list of items survives closing and will need to be complete in the next 30 days, whatever. You know, it's honestly really easy. One other thing to say with that off of the builder warranty is typically we do about a 30-day, like you give us a list of stuff in the first 30 days and we come back and we fix all that. Obviously, if water's gushing from anywhere, sparks are flying, flames, whatever, call us, we'll take care of it. But if there's minor things that you can see, paint touch-ups, caulking, doors that don't close just right, whatever, get a list of that stuff together and don't burn up the builder and start blowing him up 10 minutes after closing about one thing, two things, this, you know, whatever. Get a list of it and say, hey, can you send somebody out here or whatever? I have a list, and then send them the list. That way they have who to send out there, and you're being proactive and you're taking care of your clients that way. We also do drywall and nail pop touch-ups. We normally do them before closing, but a house is made of wood. Wood does what? It swells and contracts through hot and cold seasons. That's what makes good bourbon, but that's a different story for a different day. But a house swells and contracts with the seasons. So what we typically ask people to do is, if you see a nail pop day one, if you can't live with it or whatever, we might just come out and fix it for you. But typically wait for an entire cool season and a hot season. That way the house swells and contracts fully. All those nail pops will typically come out that first year. And then what we'll do is we'll come in and we'll knock them all out at once. We'll do all the paint touch-ups at once, all the drywall touch-ups at once. And we take care of everything. It makes it easier on your clients and it makes it easier on the builders, which helps you sell more homes, create more raving fans, sell more builds. Sorry. So that's kind of my story in a nutshell. We do a lot of new construction, a lot. And one of the things that we see far too often is just people are so used to just selling everyday homes that they don't really notice the difference between the two. And if you work with a team like ours, you really don't feel all those speed bumps that go down the road. We minimize those as best we can for everybody. But a lot of times you just don't know what you don't know. A lot of agents get into this and they have no idea that they're supposed to do a walkthrough 2 to 5 days before. They're just hopping in right before closing. They're all excited to get their check and get a picture of the clients in front of the house, which is great, but you're just creating more work for yourself later on at the end of the day, and for the builder. Like, the builder's got enough to do on their plate. But questions, comments, concerns, like if anybody on Zoom has a question, please send it in the comments really quick.
And we actually already do have one.
Perfect.
Stacy asked, related to the new contract offer to purchase, she asked, so do you use the OTP in addition to the builder's contract?
It kind of depends on if you're doing like a true custom build or if you're actually just doing like a spec home that's for sale. If you're doing a true custom build, I mean, I think we typically use both. We have a builder contract and a new construction offer to purchase contract. Honestly, we really haven't been doing quite as many custom builds lately because the market is just so crazy and we can't really control prices, and people want to have a fixed number at the end of the day. So our overall, our custom stuff has kind of gotten nipped in the bud a little bit, but I would say yes, by all means, because you can never have too much information. Like, you really can't. The more clear and transparent everything is, the happier everybody's going to be throughout. Does that answer the question?
She's nodding yes.
Cool.
She also said she's also had a builder tell her before, tell her and her clients that they will be working directly with the clients and not with her. Have you ever had that happen?
It's a great opportunity for your clients to get screwed over. I mean, realistically, you're there to protect your clients. if you're being a middleman and you're being like, if you send me something, I send you something, and then back and forth, yeah, you might as well get cut out of that conversation. Typically, it's either a builder that's a little compulsive control freak, or it's just an agent that they need answers sooner rather than later, and they don't want to play the telephone game to get those answers. I do see that often, honestly, on a lot of our custom builds. Sometimes that has happened, but with us, Sarah is your point of contact. Like Sarah is the builder in your all's eyes, basically. Like she is Houghton Homes. Like she takes care of everything. I joke around and say that Houghton and me share an assistant because like she basically handles all his deadlines, his selections, his contracts. Like, I mean, she handles everything for him, just helping him manage it all in his own mind. So if you're wanting to go directly to the builder, he may say, like a lot of times people want to ask the agent a question and then the other agent a question and then the builder the same question. They want to ask everybody the same thing to see if they get the same answers. Save yourself the trouble and just talk to Sarah and she will give you all the right answers. That's the best way to put it, because at the end of the day, that builder typically has 10 to 50 projects going at once. And if you're pinning them down and you're trying to ask them for a timeline, they're going to tell you probably what you want to hear. Whereas Sarah's in the position that she's in, because she's not going to tell you what you want to hear, she's going to tell you what you need to hear. And it is what it is. So finding a point of contact, I would say, would be really important. If you're not working with us, group messages work great, honestly. Like just have a group message going with your clients and the other agent or builder or whatever. Make sure you're involved in it, because if you're not, it just gets wires crossed and then people get upset and frustrated and stuff doesn't happen. And you know, it makes it a lot more difficult on everybody. So I know you got questions. I want to be able to make this more beneficial next time. So like any questions that you guys have on stuff that I didn't talk about.
And we can even unmute people if they don't know word it.
By all means, if anybody wants to unmute and ask a question, we are all ears. We won't put you on the big screen if you don't want to. Do you have anything?
Do you maybe want to explain, just for other people, explain like how like having a builder that you're very confident in working with makes a difference, kind of like how we use Houghton Homes for most of our builds, pretty much all of them. How that makes a difference from just doing any spec home.
So what would the question be? Or what would the difference?
Well, just because you mentioned Houghton Homes, and maybe someone may not understand that you pretty much do all of your new builds with one specific builder, and maybe why you choose to use one specific builder from bouncing from builders.
We work with a couple of different builders here in town. We primarily work with one builder. However, we have 3 that we typically represent. And it honestly depends more or less for us at what the client's expectations are. That consultation that we talked about, that's when I'm interviewing you to figure out who you're going to be a better fit for. At the end of the day, if you're wanting something sooner rather than later, complete custom build, probably not your option. That rolls out 2 of our builders. Like, there you go. It's super simple. If you're wanting to pick every doorknob and every light bulb, and you want an accurate budget of every single thing that's going into that house, we got a builder for that. It's a thorough process, and honestly, if you're a kind of person that can't drink from a fire hose very quickly and you're going to get overwhelmed, you don't want to do that. Like, pick a floor plan, pick your colors, and we'll do everything else with one of our other builders. But right now, honestly, we've primarily been working with one other builder because he's able to put out more homes. Right now, nationwide, we're 5.5 million homes underbuilt, because whenever the economy tanked prior to, it took us a long time to get building back up to the numbers that we're actually producing now. And so the gap, obviously people didn't stop having babies and stuff like that in the process. So the population has grown, however, the new construction stuff has shrunk. So that's why we've gotten into the situation that we have, is housing is so underbuilt right now. So realistically, if you're not educated on new construction, it might be a long experience for you guys with a lot of multiple offers and a lot of retail resale houses until you actually, like, there's not as many options retail resale on the market right now. And new construction is going to be here for a very long time. I mean, I think we're gonna be building houses, this many houses a year for the next 5 years. Whether interest rates go up, down, sideways, left or right, doesn't make a difference. We're gonna keep building houses because we're so underbuilt. And if they stop selling, we'll start sitting on it. But I personally use our builder as well. He builds multifamily properties and stuff like that for us. And so having that relationship with him kind of helped him do more of the custom builds and learn the process. So like a lot of people are like, oh, I need to get a builder. I need to find a builder, and that's how I'm going to make all this money, and I'm going to get all these deals and whatever. You're not going to get a builder. Like builders have, even my builders have probably 5-10 agents reach out a week asking, hey, are you interested in selling your houses with us? Or hey, do you have anything coming up on the market? You know, like they are so used to hearing all of these different agents, you know, try and wine and dine them and get their business and all of this stuff. You can do that if you want to. That's probably not going to work out, or at least work out in your favor. What we've done is my builders know one thing. They know at the end of the day, it is my sole job to make them as much money as physically possible. It's the law of reciprocity. If I give him enough of what he wants, in return, I get what I want, which is 150 units this year. You know, it's just a very large number for us. But also at the same time, whenever I'm able to calculate our numbers, and I know my builder wants to build 50 homes that year, and I know that per every spec home that they give us, we convert 1.5 to 2 buyer leads off of every single one. If he gives me 50 listings, I'm closing 150 deals as long as I'm holding my members accountable. So with that being said, if anybody's interested in, we need a little bit of help on the buy side sometimes, but no, I mean, at the end of the day, the business is great. Houghton is who we worked with a lot, and our clients, I mean, I know a lot of people have done custom builds with us in the past, and they typically have really good experiences. We just might make it do a little bit more work in the process. Any other questions come through?
I have a question.
Go for it.
Hi, sorry. So I have clients that have mentioned to me that they are nervous about doing a new build because they feel like the construction or the builders are so far behind that they are not hiring quality workers. And I have had, I know of at least one house where after we closed, things were caught that were not caught at the walkthrough, like a gap in the door where the air is completely coming through. And they still have not gotten those things fixed. So what would be a good response to someone who's afraid to build because of the quality?
I think it all goes back to being proactive. I mean, did you all have a home inspection on that one? Just out of curiosity?
They did not.
Okay, so one of the reasons I always say to have a home inspected is just because there's going to be little things that your clients are focused on taking a picture out front of the house, and they're not worried about that gap in the door. Most of the time, that gap in the door is a simple piece of like insulation strip that basically goes down. And it's normally really super easy stuff. But the thing is, when you close on it and you sign on that dotted line, that builder gets his check. Like, I mean, he's getting paid. So whether he comes back and fixes your stuff tomorrow, next week, next month, as long as he gets it fixed in that year, he doesn't really care because he's not going to get sued. So that's why I always say, get it inspected, do thorough walkthroughs, and be crazy proactive. That 2 to 5 day leeway before that is to make sure that your clients aren't showing up 30 minutes before closing, finding all of these things, and then, oh crap, the movers are outside, they're getting ready to move in. You know what I mean? Because then you're kind of in a spot and you've got to figure something out real quick. Does that help?
Yeah, I guess I feel like they were just stressed because they were already months behind on what they were told their build, was going to be, and they wanted in, of course, that their floors are squeaky, and just so things that happen throughout the whole build process that I guess
And you will find some shoddy contractors right now. I mean, in the market we're in right now, builders are popping up left and right. Oh, I can slap a house together, no problem. And then they find the cheapest, most, I can get out there sooner than anybody else and I'm cheaper than anybody else. I don't want that person. That's probably not who you want to hire for the job. And I know, obviously you know that, but I mean, you do. That's the reason that I say to be so proactive and to basically just make sure that you're being thorough, is because at the end of the day, your clients are just looking at the floor plan and they're looking at the selections and they're all excited. You're there to kind of help moderate everything in between. Sometimes there's not a good answer. Sometimes builders just suck. That's why we always tell everybody to just buy one of our houses. It makes it a lot easier. But sometimes builders just suck. Like they're new or they don't have it down to a systematic process like we do. So it makes it a lot more confusing and complicated on everybody. And then everybody's pissed and throwing around attorneys and letters and lawsuits. And then you're normally caught in the middle of it. It's what sucks. I know you've got another question though. That was a good one. Sometimes there really isn't a right or wrong answer, unfortunately. Sometimes it's just be as proactive as you can, do everything you can to make sure it doesn't happen. And then when it does, do the best you can to fix it. What else you got? Abby, you got anything? Abby, you gonna start building houses?
You want me in house back, right?
No discounts. No, I'm just playing.
Go to discount.
Sarah's the one you want to talk to about that. No, if you guys do need anything seriously, any point in time, call me, text me. If you want the real brains behind the operation, Sarah and Savannah, those are your go-tos. Realistically, we're here to help. We want to make sure everybody is equipped going into those conversations, but also at the same time, your clients are happy, you create raving fans, and we sell one of our houses. So if you guys need anything, holler at me. That's all I got. And now I don't know what this thing. You want me to just switch it? Done.